Hi, everyone. We're back for another Parent Pivot podcast. Thanks for joining us. I'm your co-host, Steve Cummings.
And I'm Julia Cummings.
We have a special week this week.
Yes, we do.
Thursday,
38 years.
38 years.
Of wedded bliss.
Could you imagine doing a podcast for 38 years?
No,
this is I believe our fourth year of doing this and just helping speak to parents of adult children out there. If this is your first time listening to us, welcome. We'd love it if something hits your heart to like this, share this, rate it, send it to someone who goes, oh, I know someone who would really enjoy doing that. That's how this is growing. And we appreciate that. Yeah. And as I always do on the podcast, when I open up, I have no idea. Well, I kind of know what we're talking about, but I always turn to Julie and say, sweetheart, what are we talking about today?
The theme of our podcast today is allowing for failure.
With us?
No,
okay.
Allowing our adult children to fail. You know, it's funny you say, pass it on. There's going to be someone that could use this. And I can't begin to tell you how many conversations I have had with people that don't even know that I do this. And there are just so many issues out there that I just can't believe they're happening. I think that's it. Like, I can't believe when I hear that a parent stopped talking to their child because they didn't like the way their child was behaving. They didn't like what they were doing. So they're just, fine, I'll let you fail, but I'm not going to be talking to you. It's ludicrous. I'm like, really? Is this the relationship that you want with your adult child?
It's not bringing healing. It's not moving toward relationship. If anything, it's beating them over the head and moving in the opposite direction.
Exactly. So I had read an article recently where it used the phrase in there, and I think it was talking about basically, I think, adult children living at home, the problem with finances, how difficult it is to find jobs these days and pay off student loan debt and and just a lot of stuff like that. But there was a phrase they used, allowing for failure, that really just caught my attention because it is something that I think all of us really struggle with. We have a hard time allowing our children to fail. And it doesn't matter how old they are. It could be our 1-year-old. It could be our 31-year-old, our 41-year-old, that we just struggle with allowing them to fail. Because from where we sit, we have more life experience. Perhaps we've been through something very similar to what they've been through. And we find ourselves just not being able to keep our mouth shut. And we've got to say what we say. And don't do this. You're going to end up divorced. Don't do this. You're going to lose all your money. Don't do this. You're not going to have any money if you don't get the right job. Whatever it is. And we just have to learn to allow them to fail.
What I hear as you say that is a parent that really probably should consider pivoting, who has a lot of pride.
Perhaps.
A lot of pride and arrogance in how their adult child leads their life. Like, I know what's best for you and you're not doing it right.
Yeah.
And with that comes shame. I don't know about you, but when I've been hit over the head with shame from my parents, and at 64, it's still happening. That's a different story for another day. So again, we go back to day one when we started this podcast, and we said, hey, relationship or being right? Now, if you want to be right, you can stop the podcast right now because we have nothing else to offer you. Okay.
Yeah.
And I will say this, how's that going for you? Okay. I don't mean to be rude. I'm a truth teller and things, and that's kind of how God wired me. So we're here to be that grace, that safe place to be able to come and share those things. And yet we will bump into people like you just mentioned who they're impatient, but they're making it all about themselves, which tells me their identity is in what's happening with their adult kids.
Probably a big portion of that. And again, when we talk about like this identity piece, it's something beneath the surface. It's not something that you're aware of.
Right.
We've all seen the parent on the sidelines of their child's softball game, football game, whatever game. and the parent is yelling and screaming and can't stop.
It's usually dad.
I don't know. I had my share of yelling and stuff. But part of that is we have this need to see our children succeed. We want to see them succeed. And whether we admit it or not, it means success for us
Right.
if we see that. And, oh, we must have done something right. It's a natural thing that happens generation after generation after
Right.
generation. It's nothing new. So, but what we're asking again of you is to sit back and reflect of the whys. Why can I not keep my mouth shut? Why do I have to tell them my opinion? Why do I need to tell them they're going down the wrong path? Why?
I'm glad you said that. That was a great way to tee up what I want to say.
Okay.
As I'm sitting here listening to this, I get that we do not want to watch our kids suffer.
Yeah. No.
That is the hardest thing as a parent and as a partner to do. It's like, oh, I want to reach out. I want to say something, or I want to not see them suffer for whatever it is. That's the hardest thing to do. I'll take this a little step further in that when we do that, we are actually getting in the way of the Father doing his work in your adult child.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm in the process of releasing a book that I just wrote. In fact, we've been talking about before we came on the air. Do you come on the air in a podcast?
Whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, we're coming on the air. And it's all about being an eclipse of the sun. When we make it about us, when we beat our kids over the head with what they're not doing, whether it's the faith values, you're not doing this right, whether they attempted to do something, failure after failure after failure, it's my anxiety and fear that I'm reacting out of. And when we do that, we are blocking the view of the Father for our adult children.
Yeah.
Okay. Flat out. Mom, dad, both of you. I'm a living example of that with both sides. And I write about it in my new book that'll be coming out. This is on my men's ministry side of life. Julie and I do the Parent Pivot podcast together. I have a whole ministry called Bringing Kingdom. We've mentioned that in the past. This book is be coming out probably the end of May, 1st of June. But it's the same thing for parents of adult children. It's for everybody. It's not just for men.
No.
Even though that's my target audience and things. But what we can do is guess how many times you and I, all of us, have failed. We probably can't count them. I don't know about you. I haven't stopped failing. Okay? Failure is not a bad thing. Failure is what the Father uses to sanctify us and make us holy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So if you have that big picture, and if you really believe in a Father, the Father God, who you believe in who he says he is, then all you can do is back up. If you're watching YouTube, I have my hands wide open. If you're listening to us, I have my hands wide open. I have to trust the Father with my adult kids.
Yeah.
And anything else, I'm getting in the way. I'm causing an eclipse. We do get this opportunity, as much as we're hurting, to speak life and truth into them.
Right. And so that's what I want to say. And it's something we've said a million times is it doesn't mean that you never get to speak into them. What it means is you're approaching it differently. Mm-hmm. Perhaps you're asking for permission. Perhaps you are just listening and then you walk away and you ponder what they said and you really wonder, am I supposed to say something or am I not supposed to say something? What would be beneficial? Should I allow them to fail? But I would say, even if you, I say this often, even if you aren't a believer, the principle remains the same, that yes, you may have a different take on it, that it's, you may not believe it's allowing God to do his work, but if that isn't what you believe, it is still allowing your child to find out who they are, what they're good at,
Yes, absolutely,
to learn resilience, perseverance, all of those things that build character.
Right.
If mom and dad are always coming and bailing out, right, and nobody and no adult child ever has right. to do anything, right. then there's a,
right. Right. And
there's a problem.
figuring it out, just from my personal own story, at 22, I was headed one direction and I felt the calling of ministry. So I headed another direction. I thought it would be one thing. It went a different way for 16 years. And then something else happened. I got into nonprofit major gift fundraising for 18 more years. And now here I sit at 64, having walked away from that career and doing a ministry of shepherding men's hearts. So I have been in a couple of different areas. But in that, have I failed at things? No, the Father's moved me on when that season was over to the next thing. So, and again, along the route, there's been different employers that have failed.
Absolutely.
And places where I have learned. I would not be who I am today if I didn't learn from those areas where I failed.
Right.
And that's the voice we get the chance. I mean, I kind of want to reframe this. We get the chance to speak that kind of life into our adult kids.
Right.
And see that from the father's perspective to saying, hey, hold on a second. I know you lost your job. I know it's hard to get a house out there. Whatever. Here's what I see. We have mentioned this in podcasts. Go back through our library of podcasts. We've mentioned it before about looking for the things and affirming your adult kids for the character traits that they are.
Right.
Not what they do. Because that's going to be the wind under their wings. That's who you want to be as a pivoting partner to your adult kids.
And I have to say, like monetary success isn't everything. We oftentimes think that that's the end all be all. So if I have a child that has monetary success, it may feel really good. I may get puffed up about it. I don't have to worry about them, which is great. So those things sometimes also dictate. So if you're putting that on your adult child and they don't care about it like you do, that's a different story. Again, it's learning who your adult child is. You are getting to know them. You are studying them. You are figuring out who they are, what they're good at, all those things. And it's actually a privilege at this stage of the game to be able to sit back and know I don't have to teach them anything anymore. No. I don't have to figure their life out. I don't have to protect them anymore.
Because that's what parenting was. And now we need to pivot to the other side of the spectrum. I loved what you were saying, sweetie. I would say this. Here's the test to know about how you're looking at your adult kids. If you're on Facebook, what are you posting?
Oh, interesting.
What are you posting? Is it, hey, look at me and the wonderful kids and grandkids I have? I mean, if you go through Facebook, person after person after person, it's like, here's all this great stuff that's happening. And meanwhile, it drives more emotions inside us. It's like, oh, we're not like the Joneses. Look at how perfect their family is. And yet we don't know what's going on behind the scenes and beneath the surface. Yeah. But that's what we want the world to see. That's called a mask.
Right.
That's pointing at all the things that are not true. And you know what? God doesn't give a rip about the masks.
Yeah. At one point, I got off Facebook or maybe I didn't get off Facebook. I didn't leave Facebook completely, but I remember one Mother's Day where my kids did this beautiful video for me, and each of them recorded something and whatever. And it was, the type of thing that you bawl as a mom. And I posted that on Facebook. And not that anybody ever said anything about it negatively, but there was something inside of me that didn't set well after I posted that, because I thought, I didn't give thought to other moms and dads out there who perhaps don't have a great relationship with their kids, and maybe they have a kid that has passed away or whatever. They're not talking. And I just felt this heaviness of, you know what, I'm going to stop posting about my family. And so I did. After that, I pretty much stopped posting altogether. And that doesn't mean that y'all have to have that same conviction or anything, but it is just something to be aware of. The why am I putting that out? Because honestly, I was so moved by what my kids did. It was beautiful, and I wanted to share it with the world. And I'm not even sure why I wanted to share it with the world, because it is something private.
Right.
But I wanted everyone to know what incredible kids I had.
Right.
And I don't know, with that just came the thought, not everybody has that. And I would never want to post something that would make someone else feel bad.
Well, right. And that's it right there is the key thing is I want to look good.
Right.
I want the likes. I want people to see this, so I will feel good about that. And I want to go a little bit down that road. You just opened it. Is anytime we're looking at something, you said the right question to ask is why?
Right.
Why am I being critical of fill in the blank? Why am I posting? Why am I texting? Why am I saying this? Because it tends to be more about you and what you're feeling.
Yeah.
And we don't need to do it. We could shut it down.
Yeah.
So the call you're going to make, the text, the comment, what it is you want to say, it's usually, you know what? Let me just be quiet and see what the Father does.
Yeah.
What's God going to do organically and naturally through it? Because everything else will get misinterpreted. I guarantee you. As much as your heart was pure to want to post that, someone looks at, oh, there's Julia bragging about her kids again.
But I was bragging about my kids. I mean, I definitely was.
I understand.
But I also had no intention of hurting someone at the
I know
same
your heart,
time.
But when you're not in a conversation and you're just behind a screen, 90% of communication is not what is said.
Right.
It's how it's said. And it's the nonverbals and all that.
Yeah.
So even though you read things, and this is why we have a division in this country nowadays, everybody hides behind their devices and says whatever they want.
Right.
Let me ask you this. How's that strategy working?
Yeah, it's not so much.
It doesn't bring people together. If anything, it divides. So
right. So back to
I was just to say, back to
your adult children.
Yes.
Just wait to be invited in. That's really the key is don't measure your own success by your children's successes or failures, and let them have their failures. Allow it. Allow them to have a failure and to learn from it. I certainly understand when you see them going down a really bad path. You know, if my kids start doing drugs, I'm going to say something, right? But I'm talking more everyday kind of things that, you know, we just may not agree with, or we think, well, that seems foolish, but we need to allow them to be adults. And that's really the bottom line.
I know. And we go back to, they don't belong to us.
Yeah.
They have our DNA, or maybe they're adopted.
Yeah.
That's fine. But they don't belong to us.
No. And they have their own mind and their own journey and their own path, and
keep loving them. Keep being the prodigal dad and the prodigal mom. They weren't shaming. They weren't shaking their finger. Yeah. They waited till life fully crashed, and the prodigal son felt like, man, I've got to go back and whatever I had it good back there, and it had nothing to do with behavior. It had everything to do with position.
Yeah,
this is my son. This is my daughter. And I would also say, treat your in-law kids the same way.
Yeah.
I always try to include our in-law kids in everything we're doing. I speak to all 8 of them as if you gave birth to 8 kids. I know you didn't.
No.
But include that. That's your legacy. This goes back to legacy. Mm-hmm. There's so many things that come out of this that, you know, if we start down a road that's very selfish oriented, I'm going to go back to, how's that working for you? Mm-hmm. So I take your foot off the gas pedal. Guess what? You get to just coast.
Yeah.
Okay. You don't even have to hit the brakes. You're coasting.
Yeah.
You have enough to get you to the end. Yeah. Be there, be available, be looking for what you can, be the wind under their wings. But I don't know about you, but I've learned by all my failure. I've learned by my failures, but failure is what God uses to shape us. And
I still find myself failing. I do. I will catch something that I said to one of my kids, and I'll think, did that bug them? Was I overstepping?
Yeah.
You know, I joked with a kid today about having a baby, and you know,
did they take it the wrong way?
No, I don't. In this particular case, definitely not. But you know, it's still that thing that just kind of like, okay.
I wish I'd taken that back. It's kind of like, once the words are out, you can't take them back.
Yeah.
There's probably a million scriptures we could quote right now.
Yeah. And sometimes, excuse me, sometimes some of the things we say are in jest or joking, But our kids have known, excuse me, but our kids have known us for forever. So if it, even in our joking, it shows a pattern of some sort, it's going to take them right back to a time that they were maybe hurt by that.
Right. Well, you're basically bringing triggers to the forefront,
Yeah.
and you're keeping yourself in a box.
Yeah.
For them, going, Mom and Dad haven't changed, and
Right.
we don't want to make that same decision about them. So be careful of how you say stuff. You want to. I think the worst thing I ever did was teach our kids sarcasm.
It was.
Definitely. Didn't know that at the time. Because guess what? Kids don't understand sarcasm.
No, they don't. But when they get old enough, they sure know how to use it.
Yeah. So that's one of the things. Again, a failure by me, having to then be on a podcast, own it, mention it to you guys so you don't do that, or, sarcasm doesn't work.
Anyway, but that's all I have for today. It's allow for failure.
Great.
That's the key.
Great. Well, hey, we love that you listen to us regularly. I'm going to go through our normal closing routine here, but I'm watching the podcast numbers just start to go. If you have subjects that we haven't covered, I was recently at a Heart of a Warrior encounter with Michael Thompson and about 300 men in Virginia, and I've got a different podcast for my ministry and things. And I said, hey, if you've got content that I'm not thinking of, we want to talk about it. Okay. So email us at parentpivotpodcast@gmail.com. On your socials, we just got done giving a negative social commercial.
Yeah, but we really don't do anything on socials.
Yeah, we don't.
Does Jamie Lynn do stuff?
I think so. Yeah.
I think our daughter does.
If you see us on social media, it's because we're paying our pregnant daughter, who's due with Beckett Leo in 4 weeks, 6 weeks.
7 weeks.
She's at that stage where she needs to stay away from sharp objects, or she'll probably burst and never come down.
Yeah.
I always say that. It's like, whoa, like, you sure you don't? And she's miserable right now.
Yeah.
Her back's hurting. Here's what happens when you sit with us at a podcast. We start just going. This is what happens when we turn the mic on.
We're blabbering.
Anyway, share us, rate us. We do have a book. I'll put that in the show notes if that helps you. 13, although it's really 12. Principles for helping have healthy relationships with your adult children. We misnumbered them. Yeah. Actually, there is 13, but we didn't call it a number. But anyway, So that's there. Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, we'll be back next week after we celebrate number 38. We'll be starting our 39th year together. My goal has always been to get to 50.
Well, I hope it doesn't mean that we die once we get to 50, but
yes. We're going to end in a different way. I love you. See you next time.
Bye.